and I generally do vlogs on repatriation and why you should move back home to your home country to make an impact on the societies wherever it is that you're from. I am a firm believer that you can take your knowledge, you can resources, and you can go back to where you're from, and you can make a greater impact, and you can live a far better life. So I was just saying on my TikTok, video. I've never went live on TikTok, by the way, but because so many of my friends are, because I grew up in the U.S. and so many of my friends are African Americans, and the people that I surround myself with are generally African American and African American women, I thought having this conversation about possibly leaving the U.S. and going elsewhere to do life or to do life differently should be in all of our psyche. Like we should be thinking about what else is out there other than the United States and the expensive prices, the expensive apartments, the expensive mortgages, the expensive, car insurance, the expensive supermarket trips, the expensive day-to-day living, expensive school fees, expensive universities, expensive daycares, expensive everything is expensive. And yes, I stayed there for over 35 years or close to 35 years. And yes, I didn't, I wouldn't change a thing about, being very, growing up in an American culture, adapting to American lifestyle, pushing towards success, doing life the way that I chose to do it, which is to go to school, to develop myself in the academia, and to make sure that I did life the right way and traveled on a certain path. So no, I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change it. I'm glad I had that opportunity. I'm glad that I embraced it, and I'm glad that I utilized it to the best of my abilities. Um, However, now that life has present a different part to me, and because I was so tired of living in such an expensive world, and like I said before, expensive mortgage, expensive rents, expensive daycares, expensive car insurance, expensive supermarket trips, expensive everything is so expensive. And so I wanted to do life differently. And there was no way that I could have done it in the US if I continued living there. And so I went over to TikTok today to have this conversation about the possibilities of. I'm covering up, guys, because I'm under my AC and it's kind of cold. So I went over to TikTok today to have this conversation about the possibilities of leaving the US and seeking life outside of the US, and stop being bamboozled by people who tell you terrible things about going to other countries and so on. And particularly I was talking to lots of my African American friends, because I grew up within the African American, and in terms of my university years at NYU, and being exposed to corporate culture and all that. I mean, I was all over the place with different people, but in particular there were plenty of black women who African American black women who embraced me and pushed me through to the next step always, right? So I went over to have that conversation to tell people, listen, we don't have to see other places as the villain. That America has really bamboozled people into thinking that everything in America is glorious compared to the rest of the world. And what we're finding is that, there is this exodus in terms of lots of folks, Americans, who are leaving the United States to seek lives outside of the US. And that all of us need to be considerate of the fact that we want to do this life different. If you are 45, 50 years old, you ought to be thinking, are you going to be working until you're 70, 75 years old? Will you even have that capacity to work or that ability to work in terms of your strength, in terms of your health? We don't know what's going to happen from day one to day two, but we do know that we can do life differently if we choose to. So my thing is that we have to think differently. right? And with this new guy in office, and I don't mean to get political, but let's listen. Y'all know I'm very real. With this guy in office, I don't know what's gonna happen. He is already on the verge of destroying the diversity programs in different universities and different corporate places and different companies. I mean, this is what he's doing already. And is this what I'm so glad I'm not there to have to be exposed to that. That's ridiculous. So I came on here, to have this conversation about the possibilities of, would you consider doing life different if you had that opportunity to? So my thing is that I knew that I had the opportunity to live different. I knew that I could have stayed in the US. I could have just continued to live how I was living. I had a nice life. I had a nice car. I had, I didn't, I mean, but I had a lot of bills. And I hate bills. I hate to be caught up in bills all day. I didn't want to do that all the time. So here I'm saying to you, if I have an entire venue, guys, and I'm paying 150 US dollars, the most, between 135 and 150 US dollars is what I'm paying for an entire venue to live each month. These are my bills. The other things are things that you obviously have to restock your bar and you have to do those things. I'm talking about bills. So yesterday I went into, because I'm gonna get returned back to lecturing. So there's a school that I worked for that would offer me online and so on. So that way I don't have to worry about being on campus. Now, $35.60 is what really pissed me off. Why? Because every freaking thing you do, you have to pay for in the US. Everything you do. Now tell me, why would I have to pay for my own, fingerprint and all that stuff? This is what the company should be doing this. Why do I have to be responsible for paying for fingerprints and all that stuff? I was shocked that they asked me to go on and send me the link so that I can go pay for that nonsense myself. I'm hoping that my department chair will, make sure that I get my money back. It could be $35, but I need my $35 back. I'm coming to work for you. You pay that, you know, you because you're the one who's telling me I need it. And I've never had to, in all the years of working lecturing, I've never had to pay, for fingerprints. Where do they get off laying this on people? And I'm thinking about, what if this is a person that actually don't have the money? So now you're looking for a job and you're trying to find, the best that you can. You're trying to hang on tooth and nail, because every darn thing is so expensive. You go to the grocery stores in the US, you have to worry about if your $200 is even going to get you 2 bags of groceries. And here it is that I'm sitting up here paying $35 for this stupid thing. And I'm thinking, okay, listen, if somebody else is out there trying to get a job, have to pay their car note, and they have about, let's say their car note is about $150, $60, or whatever it is, and this is all they have in their account to pay their car note. Now they have to go subtract $35 so that they can pay for fingerprint, because they got to get a job. Because if they don't get a job, then they're going to be, they can't sleep at nights. And if they can't sleep at night, then they can't be functional enough to even look for the job. And if they, when they do look for the job, they tell them that, okay, well, now you have to pay this $35 out of the money that you barely have. And if I take the $35 out of that money, now I can't pay my insurance. But then the job is probably, if it comes through, now I don't have any insurance, but I have to drive to the job. Do you see the cycle that the US continually puts people in at times? My God, people say this is the greatest country in the world. Now, I love the US. I have nothing against the United States. This is where I grew up. This is what it offered me the opportunity to do what I do now. But my God, and when I look at what's been happening from a few days ago, this guy is, Dum Dum is going to destroy every diversity program So people like me and people brown and other people don't have the full opportunities. This is what he wants to do. I mean, obviously there are going to be companies who are going to fight against him, who is not going to follow suit. But then the fact is that every company that has already joined him is really participating and saying, yeah, well, I agree with you. Let's get rid of the diversity inclusion programs. We don't have to hire anybody just because. But meanwhile, those people that they're hiring are people who are qualified. But now they can say, oh, well, we're not going to hire you at all because, simply put, we don't have to. So, I mean, I see a problem with this. And this is why my title today is, why I left the United States and why I'm glad that I left. So, I'm angry at the fact that, this guy is going to come in and do whatever it is that he feels like doing and dismantle all these programs. They've already gotten rid of affirmative action. They've already gotten rid of so many things that black folks have fought and, just battled for so many decades, that secured black people and brown people and women and children, and they're getting rid of these things. They've already gotten rid of them. So, am I glad that I left? Yes, I'm glad. There are going to be issues wherever we go in this world. But when I have to, if I'm paying, what do you call it, 80% of my paycheck to live in a place, and I can't save not even the 20% that does happen to sit there, goes to, well, it doesn't sit actually. It flies out the window, through the door, wherever it is, every crease that passes. I mean, every air that blows, it just goes. So that 20% that is left by the time you're done doing everything, you can't even save it, because I guarantee you your car is going to have some problem. Your kid is going to have some problem. Somebody's going to have an issue, and you're going to have to spend that 20%. So if I can live in a place, so for all of y'all that sit out there and talk about, oh, you will never return to this place. Well, keep living in your array of bills and troubles, and having to worry about people unaliving you just because you go to the supermarket or you go to church or wherever it is, and you can't even live in peace. There has to be something different. And so, yes, I'm glad that I left. And after 3 years, I have no regrets. Absolutely no regrets. I have nothing against the United States. I will never talk down about the United States, but I will always point out issues that we have there. I'm not here, in my new space to tell people what to do, to change this, to change that. I defend myself. If I have to be in a debate about something here every once in a while about over things being done the right way, I will speak up. But I don't go around trying to tell people what to do, and that's not why I'm here. I'm here to live in peace, and that peace includes my peace of mind in terms of financial freedom. I don't have the worries. I don't have the issues. I don't have to worry about all this stuff. Now, if I have an entire freaking venue and all I'm paying is $150 a month. Let's say I have no customers for the month, no customers for, do you know I don't have to worry? I don't have to worry. Why? Because nobody's going to come turn my lights off right away. If the light, when I left to the US, the last, I think in 23, when I left, I went through a surgery, came back. I didn't pay the bill before I left because it had just came on. I spent 3 months there, so I didn't get a light bill just yet when I left. That's what I'm saying, because it just came on, and I left and went overseas. When I came back, I was so busy, didn't even pay it any mind. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get over there. I'm gonna get over there. Turns out it's about 5 months in, my lights never got cut. Now I'm saying, maybe I'm special, that they didn't cut my light right away. But the reality of it is that most of the times, you can get through without worrying about it. And the light bill is generally, what is it, $30 US. The water bill is about $7 US, which is about, I think, 1,500 local dollars, Guyana dollars. It's about $7 that I paid for. This is an entire venue. All right. The other bill that I have is my, I said this before, it's my internet bill. That's about $35 US or something like that. So all this stuff that I have here, that I own here, outright own. There's nobody in the world who can ever come, government, whomever, and say, okay, well, I'm going to take your stuff. I'm going to, no, it belongs to you. I had a conversation one time. This is with a professor, and it was so disappointing. And I just said this also on my other life, and it was so stinking disgusting that I could not believe that people would be that is unfathomable. Like it's just, I just cannot believe that she said this to me. Anyway, this is a white instructor, white professor, and her and I are having a conversation. So of course she hears my accent. So she says, "Oh, where are you from?" So I said, "Oh, I'm from Guyana." I don't know what she thought I said. This is maybe about 17 years ago or so, 18 years ago. But I've never forgotten that conversation. But she turns to me and she says to me, "Oh, um, mud hut? Mud hut." So I mean, I'm shocked as hell, right? Because I know we don't have any mud huts in Guyana, and I don't know what she thought I said. But even if I had said Ghana, but Ghana is very developed, and even back then, yeah, it wasn't. Ghana is even more developed than Guyana is. But I mean, it was 17 years ago or so. So I mean, it was a time when Ghana probably wasn't where it is today, but still, the fact that this woman said that, listen, this is at the highest level of academia, and this woman stands there and tells me that, and I looked at her, and I'm trying to make the decision if to cuss her ass out or to just walk away. I decided to walk away because I realized that they were going to try to make me look like the bad one. So I walked away. And after that day, she kept trying to say hi to me, and I would just not say hi to her. I was like, I know you know what you did. You did that, and you did it on purpose, and you were ignorant enough to think that it was okay to do it. And I said, I just never said anything to her. I don't know. I guess she stopped saying hi after several tries because I just wasn't having it. But I wasn't going to get into a debacle with her at all. But even at the highest level, you can find the ignorance in people. Now, I'm not saying that, everybody is that way, but way too many people are that way. I can't deal with that. After George Floyd, I was sick and tired of the ish that goes on. So, so to me, when people have this conversation about not ever leaving the US and this and that, all I'm saying is that you can continue to live there, and I'm not telling you to leave. That's on you, but I'm just telling you, stop looking at other places and holding it holding it over a fire, saying, "Oh yeah, well, it's the worst place to live. It's this or that. It's so terrible." Meanwhile, the same people that have been telling you about how terrible it is, and the US is this big glorious place where, oh my God, it's the best place to live on earth. We're finding out daily through social media that in other countries people live good, they live better, and they also live much cheaper. So they this ideal that the US is such a great place to live, that it's the better place than everybody else, and don't go to Jamaica, and don't go to the Bahamas, and don't travel it. Listen, you know these realities, everywhere you go, you have to look out for yourself. Everywhere you go, you got to take measures in terms of security. It doesn't matter, but I don't have to worry about some mass shooter showing up shooting down the whole place if I'm in a supermarket here. I don't have to worry about somebody just making a decision to shoot into a crowd because simply put, or drive their vehicle into the crowd or do something crazy. Generally, when something happens in these spaces, whether it's the Caribbean or whatever, which they always try to make it look like these countries are so poor, they're so this, they're so that. And even when I look at how many African American women that I follow who are fleeing to countries overseas to live and work. They're working online, but to live overseas because they want to live cheaper, they want to live better, they want to live without the constant racism, they want to live without the constant worry and fear and anxiety, and they just want to live and do life differently. I mean, it's like I said, said before, it's like an exodus taking place. These are the very people who are telling you not to leave or America is so glorious, but then when you get on the planes, who you see coming into your own country, they don't quite look like you. So they're not brown, they're not black. They're taking advantage of the very things that they're telling you not to take advantage of. So I have lots of people who are now asking me questions about how I did it, and how are things going, and just trying to be informed about the possibilities of doing things different than they already do. And these are African Americans. These are people who are, sometimes they have Guyanese parentage or whatever, they have Caribbean parentage, but we've got the Jamaicans here. Guyana has found oil, of course, we know that. We've got the Jamaicans here, we've got the Venezuelans here, we've got the Brazilians here, we have got, Cubans here, we have got um, everybody coming in, and we've got lots of white folks, right? So they're coming in, and when you take the plane to come back here from Miami, trust me, it doesn't look like dark. It doesn't look brown. It looks very different. So stop letting people tell you how to do this life. If you want to take the advantage of coming in and not paying all this excessive amount of bills in order to live, do that. Bill your property out of pocket. Do take on the responsibility of handling your budget yourself. Don't put your money in people's hands, like I've said to you before. Do it yourself. Come down. Bill whenever you're available, right? So if you have a 3-month leave that you can take, awesome. If it's just a month that you can come and spend, then okay, well, all right, I have 2 bathrooms to bill. I'm going to tell the contract I need these restrooms built within 2 weeks or so. They can get it done. If you have a kitchen to build, okay, well, this is what you do. If you want to get like cabinets and so on, that you can just work with one of those carpenters who does this kind of stuff. You tell them what you want, you come down, you take a look at it, you make sure you do your down payment, they get it ready. When it's time for you to put it up, they that okay, all you have to do is get someone to place it. If you want to make sure that it's done perfect, be there in person to do it. My thing is that please think about other ways that you can live and that you can do life differently, that you don't have to, because think about the nursing homes and how expensive they are in the US, how expensive healthcare is. I just spent 4 days or 5 days, 4 days, at least 3 to 4 days in the hospital, right? Not five, but definitely 4 days in the hospital. I paid not one penny. This is about a couple of months ago, maybe 3 4 months ago. Not one penny that I had to spend. When I got out and it was time to get my medication, um, you know, every single, I think I got about 4 or 5 things. Every single one of them were free. I spent 4 days in this hospital with nurses and doctors who were very proficient in what they do. Trust me, I'm a mom. That means that I've had 3 babies. I've had surgeries over time, so I know what hospitals should look like. What I know, good medical care, excellent medical care. I know about being in my own room, because my insurance covers it. So, my insurance is that good. So I know about good health care. And let me say something. I was shocked at the level of care that I received. Shocked. Absolutely no complaints. None whatsoever. Nurses, doctors, cleaners. And this is not me. This is the entire woman's ward at the local hospital. So please stop thinking that the world is doomed if you if you release yourself from the the hold of the United States and these first world countries that are telling you that you can't do anything differently. I enjoy paying $150 or less per month. And I enjoy knowing that I can, once I'm done building and doing everything, all the money that comes into me will be mine. I can do what I want to do with it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about paying mortgage, paying a this or that. I don't have to worry. All I have to always worry about is my internet, my cable if I decide to do cable. But now I stream everything anyway, and my water and my light. That's it. Which comes up to about $150. Are you guys kidding me? What are you doing? You're trying to come to these countries and complain about their systems? Listen, I'm not here to change anybody's system. I would like it to be better, right? But I'm not here to complain about it. It is what it is. It's part of their culture. It's what they do. And even though the United States is efficient and their laws and rules and so on, and what? If you want all that, stay and pay for it. I'm good without the rules and the this and the that. I'm okay because as long as nobody is trampling on me, nobody's doing anything, I'm good. Stay in your corner, stay safe, do what you got to do. I'm not frightened by anything here. I am frightened at coming back to the US. Frightened, at staying at the airport and somebody decides to unalive people because are frightened to go to church in the US, frightened to do this, frightened to do that, frightened to go to the supermarket, frightened. Like, it's just crazy. So I'm not knocking, I'm just saying what's reality. And I'm one of those people that I'm very pro American, very, very pro American. If you come to my business, you'll see the American flag flying. My son is a U.S. Marine. I grew up in the United States, so I am all about, the U.S. But at the same time, I recognize that I can't keep living there. I can't afford. And I just had our son, the youngest one. He just said to me the other day that when he comes back, he's out of the country right now. He's out of the US right now. He's saying to me that he wants to come and he wants to explore life here and to see if it's something that he could possibly do because he said, "Mom, I'm not paying to live in the US as much, as the US requires." And I think it's smart. He's 24 years old. He's just coming out of the US Marine. He came out with 90% of coverage. He will forever have wonderful insurance. He is really performed well as a Marine. And, so he's got his titles. So for me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's awesome. My other son is in Brazil. He doesn't want to live in the U.S. either. So I created I don't know. I don't think it's me, but I think it's just because I've never told them anything. I just packed up and left because they weren't home. They were at college and university and in the Marine. So it's not like I told them what to do. These are grown young men, so they have made their own decisions. And I am so happy to hear them thinking about what it is that we want to do long term. And staying in the US is not part of it because they said it's way too expensive. And these are young men that have done their lives the right way and have made great choices. And I say kudos to them. And they're not Guyanese. They weren't born here. They were born in the US. They grew up in the US. They've come home a couple of times. I've brought them here. The land are usually 50-year lease or outright ownership. Okay, so Vic is asking that. All right, so I wasn't reading. Vic, I'm sorry. I was just talking. I like to talk, right? All right, so I from Española, Philippines. Hi, Fiel. Thank you for joining me. You can live in the Philippines. Cost of living here is very cheap. Absolutely. I was just looking at some a vlog on the Philippines and living there and how much it costs to live there, and I saw how cheap it is, and that is just awesome, and it's good living, good vegetation. just the cost of living was so cheap. And I don't remember which vlogger it was, but it was just so fascinating. And I thought, wow, that's nice, because I follow a lot of vloggers, Phil, and I just was just really intrigued by that, because that is just awesome. So Philippines is an English speaking country. Foreigner here are very welcome, and Filipino people are very friendly and hospitable. That I know, because I've never been to the Philippines, but I know that from neighbors in Florida who are Filipinos, or that I've known over the years. They're always inviting you to eat. They're always feeding you. They cook the best foods, I swear, and they always want to hang out. They're very sweet, very warm spirited people. So yeah, I do know that. Is there anywhere you can just get a place to rent and own your place, or own your place? Yeah, definitely, Joshua. You can definitely get a place to rent. There are lots of places that are renting. There are lots of Airbnbs, but there are also lots of houses. Like my brother-in-law rents a place in the city. If you go to the city, Joshua, I don't know if you're still on here, but if you go to the city, you're gonna pay more money to rent. I think personally the amount that he's paying is outrageous. I wouldn't do it, but it's also a very, very advanced community that he's living in. So I can understand, but I honestly wouldn't pay that amount. I think he's paying about 900 US dollars, but he's got all the amenities, and it's really, really a nice place. So but I couldn't do that, because I'm coming here to live cheap. I'm not coming here to do American payments. So I wouldn't do that personally. Can you live cheaper? Yes, way, way cheaper than that. And I would say most people pay, local people who rent pay about maybe 200, or 40 to 50,000 local dollars, which is about $250, US dollars, right? So yes, you can definitely pay less. And yeah, and definitely seek out to get a land, because I don't know if you have that's the thing that I don't know, that if you are not Guyanese, if it's possible to still own land. I have never looked into it, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. Because nothing goes by the rules here anyway, so I don't see why it wouldn't be possible. All right, and then Vic is saying, hi everyone. So the land are usually 50-year lease or outright ownership. My land is outright ownership. I heard about the 50-year lease today, right, when I sent the message. But I for me, that's some sort of co-op stuff. But apparently there are places like that. Even my dad's land, and my dad has not come back to the Guyana in over 50 years, but he has a land via his dad, before he passed away, of course. He owned lots of land in Guyana, and he left land for his kids. So my dad has a land in Georgetown, and that land, I heard he said that there's a 99-year lease on it. And then when that lease is up, then you have to go in and get another 99-year lease on it again. So, but mine is outright owned. So, and I don't think I would want it any other way. All right. Any other questions? So I'm just angry at the fact that's what brought me here today, that I had to pay that 30 something dollars. And I'm just thinking, like, what the hell? I shouldn't have to pay any kind of money. And this is why I left the US in the first place, because it takes every penny you have. Like, you know, I'm just imagining the person in the worst position who doesn't have that 30 something dollars to spare, but they're desperate for a job. I should just be, should have just, because that's what used to happen all along. I should not have to spend 30 something dollars to get my fingerprints. Well, it's not fingerprint, background check done. Honestly, I didn't think that was fair. So I decided to come on and just say, why is it that I'm so happy that I left? And I'm not regretting it. And this guy, Dum Dum, is going to be there for the next 4 years, and the kind of things that he's already done, and the things that he will continue to do. It's kind of scary, right? And so for all those people who are in the country, I mean, I've heard about so many stories of people who are in the country and they went there and they didn't come back after their visa was up, and I just feel really, really bad for them because this is going to be a very volatile, very unsafe 4 years for them to live and exist. They will always have to look over their shoulders. They will always have to, wonder. Being stopped in a car for some reason with a bunch of passengers, and if it's one of those states, I think Massachusetts just ruled that that cops or ICE can just be pulling over people and searching them or looking for illegal immigrants. But I mean, literally, for the next 4 years, I mean, not like this hasn't happened before. There are plenty of people who have lived through and gone through decades of being in the US undocumented, but nobody wants to be in such a fragile position because this guy is relentless at what he wants to do. And I think for the first time in that I can recall, that I think that I feel unsafe for all the people who are undocumented and who are who are living in the United States without any papers, period, right? So those people who have put themselves in those positions will now have to be extremely, extremely careful. So I feel kind of sad because I just know that they can't possibly live a decent life, running and ducking and hiding, and under regular circumstances that's hard, much less in a position now where it's even more pressure. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm happy that I left. I am happy that I don't have to go through 4 years with Dum Dum. I am happy that I can live at $150 a month. I am happy that I don't have to spend $1,500. My son's apartment was $950, and it went up to $1,700. But he was able to argue the guy down to $1,500, right? That's one of our sons, which is the oldest one. He's the one still in Florida, and when I went to Florida, this is about 20. How old is our son? The youngest one is 24. I said 21 years ago when we went to Florida, we were able to get secure an apartment for $750. We had 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. The community was extremely safe. We were in the center of Fort Lauderdale. We had the school was right, the elementary school was right next door. So literally, you come out of your apartment and you walk downstairs. It was only what 2 3 levels, but we lived on the second floor. You walk downstairs, and you walked across the parking lot, and the kids, you put your kid through the gate because they had a back gate that they could enter, and that was an A+ school. We also had pool. We had a pool. We had because where I taught the kids how to swim. We had a gym, right? So you paid $50, an extra $50 when you got there, and 50 or $75, but you got the keys for the entire time. You don't ever have to pay again unless you lose the keys. Um, we had 2 tennis courts. This is all for $750. I mean, extremely clean community. You just never no violence. Just very safe place. And at the back there was a canal, so you had the water that was there. That really it was clean, and you had the fresh air blowing, and it's Florida, so certain time of the year it was really, really nice. And when it was hot, of course, you had your AC, and you also the AC system was also a heating system. So if it gets cooler in Fort Lauderdale for any reason at all, because sometimes every once in a while it gets cooler during the year, so you just turn your heat on. And this was a really nice situation for a young couple who was really trying to. I just graduated the university. My husband had just quit his job from the city to come follow my dreams, which is to move down south. And we didn't have that much money, as a young couple with children. So that was just so awesome. And about 4 years ago, I drove past that same apartment, and First of all, they took all the apartments away, turned it into condos, and now those apartments are going for over 270. Well, that was then, over $275,000. Now tell me the opportunities that all of those children who, because there were lots of kids, it was actually a community of children and families. All these children who grew up there, all our sons and their friends who are now in their 20s, right? Who grew up there. These other kids today, unless you have a parent who can afford to bring you into a community like that, or parents, then you are stuck living in some place that you don't have as many opportunities as these kids had. Every one of our children learned how to swim at those pools, right? At the swimming pool and complex. And during the summertime, I would take them to Red Cross to learn them so that they could teach them how to swim in a professional way. Because it's funny, because I'm not a swimmer. I don't know how to swim, but I taught them how to swim. That's because I'm not afraid of the water, so I was able to, go in, and eventually they learn. But then they learn the real practical skills from the trainers at Red Cross, and that was either free or very, very cheap. And this was, I mean, this was what, 20 something years ago. But it's so sad that these kids today wouldn't have that opportunity. Some kid today wouldn't have that opportunity because of the fact that their parents can't afford to move into a place for over $275,000. The very community that we paid only $750 for. When we left, we were still paying about $750 when we moved to Georgia and bought our home. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is so sad. You can't go into a store in the United States today without spending, $300 in grocery. Like, I felt like every week I was spending $300 in groceries, just between me and my husband. And we're not like, crazy greedy eaters. I'm just talking about buying nice things that you can enjoy. And this is ridiculous. So all I'm saying to you guys is, I'm complaining about that 30 something dollars because I know now, and for the average American who is sitting up there, who understands that every month this is what they pay, like, you guys are in this position where you don't even see something else different. Like, you can't even see that there's other things or other places you can live, other places you can possibly pay cheaper for, because you believe that this is the way life should be. 80% of your salary is gone before you even get it, right? For the most part, I'm talking about the working class, the middle class, the upper middle class. Unless you are upper middle class, then you can see where your dollars is going. We have registered nurses who are living paycheck to paycheck. We have professors who are living from paycheck to paycheck. Professors don't get paid as much as they should anyway in the first place. So all I'm saying, guys, is just try to think about doing life a little bit differently. And you don't have to, and stop assuming that every other place outside of the US is the worst place in the world to live. Because that is not true. I live, we have our garden there in the yard, right here at the business. We have eaten about 4 or 5 times from that garden. No, actually, I'm lying. More about 20 times from that garden. We have eaten okra at least about 9 times. We eat papa all the time, which my husband make smoothies with all the time. Um, what else have we eaten from there? We have peppers from there. So you can plant your own garden. So you can eat more fresher and eat more healthier. Um, a box of orange juice is about $250. It's not a big box. It's about 250. Okay, I'm sorry. It's about 250 US dollars, $2.50 US dollars. I'm sorry, which is about $5 Guyana dollars, right? So 250, right? So you can buy a box of orange juice for that amount. All right, and that will take you to about, a couple of glasses of orange juice to drink. You can live cheaper, you can live better. And stop, please stop letting them tell you that everybody else is you're going to be living in shitholes or mud houses or whatever. You can live nice, you can build a nice home. My son was talking about building someplace nice, the youngest one in the Marines. He's talking about coming down and building a nice home. And I said you can build probably something small, like a two-bedroom or something like that. Spend about maybe less than 10,000 US dollars to build that. Still nice. Maybe a certain style that you have that you appreciate. You can tell them what to do, open floor model, whatever it is. You can just choose and do something really nice, and you don't have to, live below your standards. You can still live, at your standard, but live cheap. And I don't see anything why people oftentimes shun the idea of living outside of the US because you're so caught up, and the US have bamboozled you into thinking that the only way to live, only place to live, the safest place to live, the better place to live is the United States. Of course they're benefiting off your strength, they're benefiting off your money, so they don't want you to pack up and start leaving. But lots and lots of Americans are doing it. African American women are doing it every single day. African American men. I follow this guy that a couple of, well, actually several people I follow, but one particular guy is building an entire island in Ghana, or somewhere in Africa. I forgot. It could be Ghana or it could be Nigeria. I can't remember where he's at. But this dude is from the U.S. and he's developing this entire island. Gorgeous. There's another guy that I saw that he's developing this. He's definitely what do you call it? Well, he's a real estate agent or developer, and he actually is building all these huge apartments and homes for in one community, and they have everything in the community. So I think he has about 40 homes, and all of them are sold out. These are African Americans that have gone to these places and done this. And I see my Caribbean people sitting down talking about, oh yeah, we will never come back home, this and that. The place is too backwards. Listen, man, listen. I'm not worried about who's backwards. I'm worried about how far my money is gonna go into retirement. I don't have time to be spending, telling people what to do or what not to do. If they want advice, I'll give them advice. If they think their way is the better way, then let them do it. They've been doing it for ages. So whatever it is, it is. Not here to change anybody's mind. I'm not here to be bothered by the fact that things aren't done the way I'm accustomed to getting it done. I'm unbothered, honestly. I truly am. I do what I got to do. I run my business. I run my own life. I do what I got to do. And I get up every day and I thank God. So for me, I'm good. Anyways, y'all know already what I've done, but I basically, I've got the Airbnb. Well, I've got the a couple of businesses ideas in mind, and things that I've been doing. So I've got the bistro and lounge. I've got the events hall, which I've been utilizing more and more, and I've got the Airbnb, which is still I'm working on that part. So that's the last part that needs to be completed. It's almost done. It's not construction. It's just finalities that needs to be put in place. The pump, the this, the that, and just having to focus on other things. I haven't been able to focus. We haven't been able to focus on getting the room fully fixed up the way we want to before we start renting. So we only have two rooms, but we're staying in one of the rooms. So we're just gonna rent out one unless we have a nice family who wants to come, and then we will move out and give them the opportunity to rent both rooms. So that would be fine too. It wouldn't be a problem, right? So, but we only have the two rooms. But this is what I've been here doing. So I'm headed back to the US in a couple of weeks so that I can begin lecture. Because I need to start back in the classroom. So I'm going to spend about 8 weeks doing that, and then once I get back, I wouldn't have to go back again to because it'll be fully online. But y'all please stop and think about your next 30, 40 years, whatever God has granted you on this planet, and what it's going to look like. And I pray that you consider doing life differently than you're doing it now. And I know that with guidance, the proper guidance and the proper techniques and the proper relationships in in other countries around the world, wherever you choose, that it's possible to do real estate and to do business, and to make sure and that you're not taken for granted, or your money isn't stolen and all that stuff. I know there's a way to do it, because I know I did it, and if I can do it, anybody else can do it too. All right. But you guys, thank y'all for listening, and thank you for hearing me vent. Hearing me vent about my $35.60 that I had to spend that I'm not very happy with. Hearing me vent about the fact that the U.S. is just way too expensive, and this is one of the reasons why I'm glad that I left. Hearing me vent about the dum dum in office, and him dismantling all the diversity programs and all the wonderful opportunities for so many black and brown people, that and he doesn't really care, and that is not funny. That is something so serious, and it's heartbreaking, to know that so many people have fought so hard to make sure that minorities are represented, the black people are represented, brown people are represented, women are represented, and then these people go in and they destroy these laws. Affirmative action is already off the black, like you can't, that's gone. It's never coming back, right? So, I don't know how many people know what affirmative action is and the protection that it offered black, brown, and women and so on, and even white women. It protected, in terms of jobs and schools and universities and so on to get in, that they must have a certain amount of black, brown, and minority people, period. And now all that is gone. That's gone with affirmative action. And so the rest of diversification programs, he's trying to dismantle that in different companies. And thank God some companies are standing up and saying, hell no, they're not going to do it. But there are several companies that have already, as of today, I saw the news where they're saying, okay, they've already gone along with what Trump is saying. And it's quite sad, quite sad. So I'm glad I'm not there to witness the shit show, because it's about to be 4 years of shit show. And this guy is going to be into to doing every single thing that he promised that he would do. All right. So anyway, y'all hold on there. Good luck with everything. But if you ever want advice on, what I think about you going overseas and going back to your country, or even if you're African American, grew up there and don't know anything about, let's say, or it could be different, a different ethnicity. It doesn't matter. Don't know anything about, living in another country. And what my advice would be, hit me up. Donette2003 at yahoo.com. I also have a local number. It's my business number, 592-664-4711. 592-664-4711. Hit me up, and we can definitely talk, and I could give you the best advice that, in terms of what I followed, that I which allowed me to see results. All right. Thank you guys. You have a good one. Good night.